that's why we're driving it, and that's why we're driving it with the speed that we are.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Henning. That was fantastic. I hope the audience appreciated your presentation.
Thanks.
So now, when we look at Audi looking at the past to innovate for the future, they've done amazing car. Deep inside, I wish sometime I was working for Audi and building car, but we are not. We are building switches. And for us, and networking equipment and security. And for us, what is interesting is the reason why we got so excited to get Audi on stage is I'm an Audi fanboy, first. But second, the most important is when you look at what they're trying to do on the plant floor, that is virtualization of the device. The network play a very critical role. And at Cisco, we know a few things about that. 10, 15 years ago, that's exactly what happened in the data center. What used to be appliance to run application, moved to VM, with the network being a critical role to have the networking and the communication between those VMs. So that's really why we are super excited at Cisco to be working with Audi to make this bold vision a reality and working through that. So now let's change gear and let's go to the next speaker. So the next speaker is Tony Geara. Tony worked for the city of Detroit, and he's going to tell us what technology can do to innovate and improve the life of the citizen of Detroit. So please welcome on stage, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Here you go.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good afternoon. Cisco and friends, I am so excited to be here. This is such a great opportunity to be able to share a story about the city of Detroit, a story about resilience, a story about strength, and a story about rising from the ashes, which is one of our big mottos at the city of Detroit. Many of you may be aware that the city of Detroit had its heyday. It was always the Motor City. It was the Renaissance City. At one point, we were ranked probably in the top 10, top 5 cities in the United States in terms of population, in terms of yearly income. But things didn't stay that way for a long period of time. And what we realized is that long-term resilience, long-term sustainability was a big challenge for us. In the 2008, we know what happened to the global economy. In 2013, we went through a bankruptcy ourselves, and we went through an era where we had to kind of do a little bit of soul searching to see where are we in our current, in the current world, and where do we want to be as a city in 10, 20, 100 years' time. With that, there was a lot of strategy that went into deciding on how we want to actually get ourselves out of that era and be able to start kind of expanding our network. Just to kind of put things into perspective, at the city of Detroit, we have almost 140 square miles worth of footprint. We have 2,500 miles of road, 1,260 signalized intersections that go under 3 different jurisdictions, and 70% of our workers work outside of the city of Detroit. And out of these signals, we have 800 of those signals that fall under our jurisdiction that we have to maintain on a daily basis. And this number will become more apparent in a few minutes when we go through that. 600 of those signals we have connectivity to, and we actually managed to be able to remotely manage them within that. But we are concerned about speeding. We're concerned about roadway safety. We're ranked in the top 3 for roadway fatality rate and roadway, whether it's pedestrian or regular crashes. We actually approached this problem by thinking of it as a group problem. It's not just a DPW problem. It's not a traffic issue. It takes a village to keep up a city. It takes a village to be able to bring a city up from the ashes. So as you can see on the right-hand side here, we have all the different city departments that actually work hand in hand. On the left-hand side, we have all the different other government agencies that are working on this. But we also have all the OEMs, the private partners, and many, many more that actually fall within this. Our public engagement and our public entities that we work with are an enormous help, especially the ones that are the grassroots entities that actually work with people on the ground that are helping them get out of their issues. We went and started crowdsourcing. We thought, yes, we can go and observe where actually crashes are occurring. We can observe where the potholes are happening. But there's no way for us to be able to do it in our footprint. We created an app. If there's a pothole, someone tags it, takes a photo, it comes to us, and our response time started getting faster and faster. Within that era, we also started expanding beyond that. We created an Office of Mobility Innovation, where I serve, That office actually gave us the ability to spread our wings and start going beyond the traditional intersections, beyond the traditional deployments. We started kind of looking at things such as shared mobility with bikes and scooters. We looked at delivery robots, just kind of making sure that people have access to that, of course, on a pilot level, but we still needed to learn. One of those big learning experiences was, how long does it take for a robot to cross the street? And what happens if it encounters a pedestrian coming in the opposite direction? It stops. So this way, you have to account for that extra walking time to cross a crosswalk. Electrification is very important to us, and many, many other mobility elements. However, we all know what happened in 2020. We had COVID, and it came to stop everything we know as progress, anything that was traditional, anything that was mainstream. Our racks were empty, and most of you may remember that element, and we were trying to see, what are we going to do? What you see here on the left-hand side was a photo that we took on the last day that we were in the office. It was March 19th, and I'm sorry if I'm bringing a lot of bad memories here. And we were 6 feet apart. Everyone's not aware, like, what are we doing? What's going to be happening next? I was one of the fortunate ones where I came from consulting. My computer was already ready with Zoom and some other, very sorry, not WebEx, but some other ways for us to be able to communicate. And within 3 days, we had the entire DPW team ready there. So whether you're an electrician or an engineer, you were there to be able to communicate. But then we went out, so we didn't stay in the office, in our own homes. Our electricians went out, took our existing technology, our engineers kind of designed those technologies to be able to be deployed out in the real world to support the COVID response. We innovated with a mobile camera unit, and our electricians were out there fixing the damaged and down intersections as well. Our COVID response allowed us to be able to use technology that we already have to be able to see when people were being queued up and delayed at the vaccination and testing sites. We put a lot of that effort to be able to do so, but there are certain things that we could not control. Our roads had become extremely unsafe. I'm sorry about the visual, but that was a reality. Our fatal crashes and our severe injury crashes almost doubled in the months of May, June, and July of that year. When I saw that statistic, it really resonated really deeply with me because my uncle was actually one of those victims that died 25 years before that. And everything I do on a daily basis is actually driven by that element itself. We wanted to go out and see what is it that we can do? How can we use the existing data that we have to be able to kind of try to resolve some of those issues? Some of them we could, some of them we couldn't, but we had to start somewhere. So the graph that you see on the left-hand side is showing the multiple folds of injury and death rates that we had observed on our city roads during those months following COVID. And our electricians, Mike, an amazing guy, didn't skip a day of work during that entire year. As soon as the cabinet was hit, he'd be out there, down on his knees, wiring everything up. Within an hour he was there. Within an hour and a half, the whole signal was back up and running, the best that he could do with whatever resources we have. Of course, that story did not last for long. We started kind of recovering from the pandemic, and we started realizing that some actual mobility modes were actually recovering faster than others. As you can see, everyone was on a bike. Pedestrians were not doing as well because, again, no one was going down to the downtown area. They weren't going out for lunch. And trucks were the ones that actually recovered the best. So during that recovery period, we started asking ourselves a new question. What do we do, or what do we need to do for the next era of mobility? Now, some of you may remember Irby and the amazing technology that it had. It was the autonomous vehicle that actually promised us as kids the future of the moving vehicle. Well, at the city of Detroit, we wanted to make that a reality. We wanted to move ourselves from being the motor city that you saw at the beginning of this conversation to becoming the mobility city, where we are driving this technology and we're not just kind of standing behind it and waiting for it to be kind of pushed on us within that. We wanted to become Renaissanic. And we took the idea of Renaissance, building ourselves back up and doing it in actual fast speed, in sonic speed, and becoming the Renaissanic city, not just the motor city as we had known before. The Office of Mobility Innovation looked at the landscape. What is it that we need to look at? We have connected, smart technology we need to focus on. Of course, AI and the cloud are becoming more of a reality, if not the reality that we're dealing with. We need to look at diversity, equity, and inclusion. We would be kidding ourselves if we don't actually put those at the forefront of our decision making. And of course, you'll see down here, of course, sustainability is part of every decision making, not only with the environment, but also with the ability for us to sustain the actual systems that we're putting out there, and they're actually standing the test of time. And all of that is done with a data-driven approach and a continued evaluation approach within that. So, we started reimagining what the signal looks like. We started with a new vision. We partnered up with Cisco. They came to the city of Detroit. We had a brainstorming session, threw a few things back and forth. We learned from that experience ourselves. We noticed that we have a gap with the way that we communicated about technology. We did not know how to talk about bringing in new technology and making sure that all the different departments are on the same page. We're working on a pilot right now to be able to test the connectivity between the signal and the smart car using some cloud computing to be able to help safety on the city of Detroit roads. We're also looking at other solutions, such as putting self-driving vehicles out on the road. We want to focus on safety, data, and collaboration, making sure that the engagement, the voice of the people are driving that effort. That will be deployed next year on the city of Detroit roads. Mobility information is another important one. So we want to make sure that you have access to that information. It's not only being kind of provided in a certain location. And we want to balance out the two things, the car with the non-motorized. So we are focusing on a connected automated corridor between Ann Arbor and city of Detroit. There's going to be a portion of it that's going to have inductive charging. But on the other hand, we'll also have the actual non-motorized 27-mile loop around the city of Detroit that will allow pedestrians and cyclists to be able to enjoy the city of Detroit, bringing out those other areas that have had a lot of misfortune over the years. We have our Michigan Central Station. Many of you may know this from before. At the heyday of rail transit, this was the hub that welcomed most of the visitors coming into Detroit from New York, from the east, from the west. Everyone came through this building. It was a work of art. However, it was abandoned for many years. City of Detroit, in collaboration with Ford and some other partners, helped Ford purchase this and reinvent this into a new mobility hub. They've actually done with the repository on the left, on the right-hand side, your left, and we're working on finishing up the building. But with the city of Detroit, we created a transportation innovation zone around it in order for technology to be piloted as quickly as we can and be able to have that proof of concept pushed forward. So what does that mean? I just want to leave you with a couple of very quick thoughts. We will fail as a city if we do not hold hand in hand with all our different partners out there. We cannot do this together. We need to reach out to local and state government, and we need the federal government. We've won 2 very good federal grants in the last 3 months, the SS4A and our SMART grant, and we've also are moving forward with that, but we don't have the actual technological base to be able to kind of keep that innovation going. You guys bring that to the table. We also have to kind of identify, and this is where the private sector comes in, with the OEMs, Audi, Ford, GM, everyone around, we are always welcoming those different elements to come in there. And that's the only way that we can get into an innovation element. And I'm going to leave you with one quick thought. We always have to start with our people. We always have to listen to our residents and be able to take their concerns and their needs and move them into successes and actual changes on the ground. And that's the only way we can succeed moving forward. Thank you for this opportunity to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this whole conference.
Thank you, Tony. That was great. So, I have a question. We are in an innovation session here, innovation talk. So how is technology going to help improve mobility for the citizens of Detroit? What's next?
Well, technology is the vessel. We could have the parts, the pieces, the need to go up to the moon, but unless we have the vessel to get us there, we're always going to be at square one. So I always kind of liken it to us having that rocket. So thank you so much for providing us with that rocket.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tony. So we get to the last section. We are here at Cisco Live again, talking about innovation. So we have to tell you, what are we launching this week at Cisco Live? So we looked into taking 2 things and make them work better together. And we look at what's happening on the manufacturing environment as an example. Our customer, you, need connectivity. That's the basic, the foundation. But it's not the only need that you have. You need connectivity. You need to be able to extract the data from the machine, from the asset, to bring it to the cloud or to your application. You need to be able to have visibility, to do security, knowing what is connected to your plant floor, how you're going to secure that. And last but not the least, we realize that you are not the only one working on your plant floor. You have third parties that need to access remotely machine to be able to troubleshoot, control, maintain those equipment. So today, you have to go to a lot of different vendors, and you have to patch all of that together. You have to do a lot of integration. That's feasible, but back to the beginning, where we talk about the need for flexibility and to be able to scale, we know that's a challenge. And we think there is a better way to do that. So what we are doing is we took those use cases that you have, the needs that you have, and we said, like, why don't we leverage our equipment to be able to deliver those services for OT? So what we are literally doing is taking our IE switches, or i3000 series of product, and now we can deliver on this platform cloud services, through the cloud, services for the OT personnel. What does it mean? It means you can provide secure equipment access to your machine through the cloud, leveraging the software running on your i3000. I encourage you to go and visit the World of Solution or Cisco.com. We have a full demo. That's a fantastic technology and very interesting and very simplifying the way you provide remote access to third-party vendor. We provide CyberVision. CyberVision is your platform to provide visibility into the asset connected to the plant floor, to the industrial network. Now you can run CyberVision from the cloud. So you can point your i3000 to the cloud and get all the data that you need and all the visibility that you need without having to redeploy infrastructure. And we also have Edge Intelligence, that is our software to be able to extract data from the machine running now directly on the i3000. So that's really what's new, taking all the services and leveraging the cloud to be able to deliver that to our platform. This complements the rest of our portfolio through our IoT operation dashboard. We also have support for industrial routing, industrial wireless, or LoRaWAN gateway, and all of that is part of the same family. So now we are launching this part as a software, but that's not the only thing. We are also launching hardware. I know we have a lot of people who love hardware here and love connectivity. We are adding 5 new products to our Catalyst i9300. So those are rack mount, heavily ruggedized platform that can be used to provide connectivity. And what we are bringing a huge PoE budget, so you can connect PoE, PoE plus, 4 PoE device. You can connect M-Gig device to this platform, and all of that with a stackable. We also have now 10 gig uplink to be able to provide ring topology for different use cases. So we are very excited about that, and once again, those products are available on the plant floor in the World of Solution. Last but not the least, we've launched last year in Cisco Live, if you were there, the 9167i, which was a ruggedized access point with external antenna. And you were all asking us to build one with internal antenna. So we've done it. We have the 9165i now that is built-in antenna directly on the product. So you can get 2.4, 5, and 6 gig and 6E directly in this one access point running the Cisco wireless, right? So all of that, all those innovations that we are launching today complement what we've launched at Cisco Live in Amsterdam 6 months ago. 6 months ago, we launched the new i3100, the small form factor DIN-rail layer 2 switches, as well as the 9165, the first wireless client that we have in the Cisco portfolio. So, like you can see, we started 20 years ago. It's been quite a few